All right, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I'm driving a 1991 Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4. Up front is a twin turbocharged 3.0 liter V6 and down below is a 5-speed manual transmission. If you want to read more of my thoughts, head on over to carmarshall.com/overdrive. But let's get back to that 3.0 liter V6 twin turbo. This car has a lot of firsts. This is 1991. Please keep that in mind throughout this whole video. It's insane how many things that this car has that even some modern cars don't yet. It's a twin turbo from the factory. It's decently quick and it's a very interesting ride. The 5-speed feels great, very easy to shift, light clutch. What a machine! And last but not least, the 3000 GT VR4 is all-wheel drive with active rear steering. There's so much to this car. So let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 3 gauges. On the left is my tachometer, on the right is my speedometer, and in the middle is fuel. And then, of course, I have some warning lights. To the left, I have fog lights and the headlights up and down switch, because this does have pop-up headlights. Gotta love that. On the steering wheel, I actually get mute, FM, AM, volume up and down, seek, and M-call. Then on the door here, we actually have the window up and down, auto down button, and window lock. What's funny is that a lot of this car has modern technology, but it's not the way that we have it nowadays. So the auto down is its own little button with almost like an orange light to it as well. It's kind of weird. In the center, I get 3 gauge pods: coolant temperature, oil pressure, and boost pressure. Super cool. And I like how they face the driver. I think that's really cool. Then we have 2 vents and we come to our climate controls. Now the climate controls look straight out of an 80s or 90s sci-fi movie. They sort of show almost like a graphic of the car and then a person in it, and he has a little nose. He has a little nose and it's a little man and it's a little readout. And I think it's absolutely awesome. Down below the climate controls, we get our radio, stock 90s, basically late 80s radio. Has a ton of equalizers, so you know it's pretty much a product of the 80s.
One thing I failed to mention in the driving review is that the radio actually has an aux input. So if your phone today in 2019 can put out to an aux cord, you can actually plug your phone right into the factory radio from 1991. I think this is pretty sweet and very ahead of its time.
And then we come down to the center section. Now, a couple interesting things down here. First of all, you have cruise control on and off, which is a decently big deal for 1991. You have a 12-volt charger or cigarette lighter, as some people know it, but then you have a active aero button. That's right, this car actually has active aero, so that rear wing actually adjusts itself, which is really cool. It actually will move and pivot depending on your needs, and you can turn that on, do it yourself, or let it do its own thing. Then we have the shifter, which is surrounded by a red leather shift boot. I absolutely love that, very retro. Then you have another cigarette lighter in the center console, because why not have 2? And then you have a little switch for the side bolsterings. So you can actually squish the side bolsterings here to give you more or less support depending on what you want. Now, there normally are back seats, but the owner, Ian, has taken those back seats out to restore it. That's something that I have to get across in this video. This is a car that is currently being restored. And so Ian is slowly going through and fixing everything. Mechanically right now, this car is sound. But as you'll notice, the body needs a little bit of work. The interior needs a little bit of work. It's an old car. I mean, it's older than me and I need a little bit of work. But it at least gives me a taste. It gives me a little taste of what the VR4 3000 GTs are all about. And let me tell you, they're fun. Going back to how this car was some of the first, there were a couple different suspension settings, like touring or sport suspension. It actually would adjust the suspension. So let's talk about the looks. I personally think that this looks like a kid wished his race car bed to life. I do think it looks good. I think it's a cool looking car. It's not my cup of tea. I'm more of an 80s guy, but I respect the way it looks. I think it really pushed the boundaries. It doesn't look like anything else on the road, and I do respect the crap out of that because this thing, it's a cool looking car. The wheels are from an Evo 10. These are not the stock wheels. But something interesting about the hood, if you'll notice the hood has two bubbles. Those bubbles are actually for the suspension. They are not for the twin turbos. They're actually for the suspension to make room for the adjusting suspension. Fun fact. But like how I mentioned earlier, cars don't look like this. They also don't make cars like this anymore. And really, they only made these for a rather short time, all things considered. The weird thing that I keep coming back to is that this car, at least in my mind, for me, is kind of stuck in limbo. Because it's not an 80s car, but it's also barely a 90s car. And so like the climate controls, that screams very 80s to me. You know, it screams very vaporwave. But all the plastics in here screams 90s. So it's this weird split personality of not an 80s car and not fully a 90s car. So I can't put my thumb on a good adjective for it, but I like it. Whatever that adjective may be, I like it. And so, as we're coming to a close with the 3000 GT VR4, I have to say, it's a very quick car. It's a fun car to drive. And you know what? In today's car culture where everyone stances out BRZs and FRSs, and heck, people are even jumping on the rotary bandwagon right now, this thing really sticks out from the crowd. This thing is different. This thing is weird. It doesn't look right. It doesn't sound right. It's driven by too many wheels. But at the end of the day, that's what makes this thing so special and so awesome, is the fact that Mitsubishi went out there and made something that no one had ever really seen before. What a car, man. What a car. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys learned something about the 1991 Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4. Huge thank you to Ian for lending me this car, among others. Go check out his YouTube channel. It's in the link below. You can watch him restore this thing, because this thing is going to look really, really cool. It's going to look really mean, and it's going to look fresh, and I'm super excited for him to do so. But again, link in the description below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you'd like to. Take care, guys.
There goes a sight from my soul.